Hello, hello. Welcome into another of Depot's Den. I'm obviously Evan DePasquale, your beloved host. And before I get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to one of my good friends. Went to college with her. She does a podcast as well. And her name's Natalie Malloy. She does a podcast. You can check it out. Go to her Facebook page. She does a great job with what she does. And she's been kind of getting on me to make sure I'm doing my podcast. She said, if you don't do a podcast today, I'm going to be mad at you. So, Natalie, if you get to listen to this, just want to say thank you. I needed a little bit of a push. And let me tell you, I definitely needed this for sure. But that's all what I really wanted to say. Appreciate you, Natalie, very much. Go listen to her podcast. It's very, very good. I'm a huge fan of it. I was actually a guest on that um a few weeks ago. It was absolutely awesome. So she helped me kind of push myself. So what I'm gonna now start to try and do is every Friday I'm going to do a podcast of Depot's Den just to go over what happened in the week of sports, whether it be the Bills or the Sabres or, you know, anything that's going on in the sports world that we could talk about. There's obviously the news that we're going to talk about too that still hasn't gone away, and that is the Stefon Diggs stuff. Literally, everybody, like Bills fans, let's calm down a little bit. Let's just calm down right now. Yes, it's a little bit scary that you got your number one wide receiver basically coming out and not showing up to practice. And this all stems back from the Cincinnati game. That's really what the problem is that this stems back from the loss in Cincinnati. And we need to get past it, because obviously this is something that has kind of just been really not good. And I, for one, I'm just sick of the talk about it, just because of, like, seriously, this guy is one of the best receivers in the league. When he signed his contract, he said that this is his last place that he wants to go. So I highly doubt there's only one way that he's going to end up leaving, and that probably might be at the end of his career, when he might want to, play a year to play with his brother. And I think that that's what could happen, is that he might want to play with Trayvon Diggs, and I would not blame him one bit. Would not blame him at all, because doesn't everybody want to play with their siblings? I never got the opportunity to play with my siblings. I have two older brothers, and that would have been just so cool. Was I a little shocked that he didn't show up for mandatory minicamp like the first day? A little bit. Yeah, I was pretty shocked. But I think that what ended up happening was there was a miscommunication with Sean McDermott, and how he's like, yeah, I'm upset about this. And it just got into a real situation. And then the next day he kind of clears the air, which a lot of people were really upset at Sean McDermott about. I totally get it. I kind of am too. Like, come on, man. We're in this window that I'm not saying it's closing, but it's getting a little bit smaller. And for once, I honestly think that we need to ju- we need to clear the air, and the air's not going to be cleared until Stefon Diggs talks at training camp. That's really what's going to happen, is because right now they're on their break. They've got nothing going on. There's no Bills story, unless somehow there's a big signing like a DeAndre Hopkins, which I don't think is going to happen anymore, because he wants to get paid, and I just don't think that the Bills have the money to pay for it. So I think that it's probably going to be like New England, or it's going to be um, Cleveland. Those are kind of, but also I've heard Carolina's in the mix for it. So that would be a really nice weapon to get CJ Stroud, your rookie first overall pick, probably is going to be your starting quarterback. and you get him DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know how long. I'm assuming he's going to want a multi-year deal. But let me tell you, that would be, I don't think that there's going to be any news. So we're basically going to have to wait till Stefon Diggs shows up at training camp. And there's absolutely no way he's going to be, oh, I'm going to just, skip training camp, because they're going to fine him a lot. And he's not going to want to do that. And plus, the thing that I appreciate most about this whole Stefon Diggs situation is that his teammates have his back. Von Miller has his back. Also, Josh Allen has said, I have his back. He even said, I effing love him. Like, that's what you want from your quarterback, is support. And for any Bills fan that says, oh, he's a diva, we got to trade him, blah, 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 BS. They're not going to trade him. Do you know how stupid the Bills would have to be to trade their top 3 player? You got Allen, Von Miller, and then Diggs. Those are your 3 best players right now on your roster. So basically, you would take this Super Bowl window that you have that's clearly wide open, and while you still have Josh Allen, that immediately, I think, if you get rid of Stefon Diggs, which they will never do, but hear me out, it closes. It just does. It closes for like another 2 years until you get a wide receiver in the draft. Say you get somehow, some way, you get a Marvin Harrison Jr. Then that's a different story. But there's just no way that they're going to trade Stefon Diggs, because do you know how much salary cap the Bills would be eating? A dead cap hit for the next 2 years will be $45 million. Not just $45 million combined, $45 million each year for the next 2 years. Why in the hell would the Bills do that? That would just be so, like Brandon Beane, who just got a contract extension, and we'll talk about it in a sec. He would basically probably he would lose his job because of it. He can't do that. He just can't give up his best player. If Stefon Diggs is upset, he literally will say, I know you're upset, but I cannot trade you. That's basically what it is. I cannot trade you. And unfortunately, that's kind of what's going on right now, is I cannot trade you because I would be under so much dead salary cap that it would just be a really, really bad move for the Sabres. Oh my goodness, not the Sabres, the Bills, if they traded Stefon Diggs. He's going to be fine. Players like Stefon Diggs are going to get over this, and they're going to be better. And that's what's really going to happen, is that it'll be okay. It's like the title on this episode. Let's calm down. It's okay. It's not the end of the world that Stefon Diggs he did show up for mandatory minicamp. He just didn't show up for practice the first day. And I think that that's what had everybody so concerned. And then when he came to practice the next day, then we're like, okay, good. He's here. That's good. But we don't know if he's still upset. And I believe he might be. There's been talks that he was not happy with how he was used down the stretch. I mean, he even said on the Dan Patrick Show during the week of the Super Bowl, he said, I was not happy to see how the team started to, like, not unravel, but the team almost looked like it wasn't like what it was at the start of the season. We went from Super Bowl favorites to out in the divisional round. It almost looked like they took a step back. And, 13 seconds might have to do something with that. Maybe the Bills were just overhyped. I honestly could say that they were a little bit overhyped, because of when was the last time the Bills were the favorites to not only go to the Super Bowl, but win it? 91, after they lost to the Giants in Super Bowl 25. That was probably the last time that the Bills were a clear Super Bowl favorite, in my personal opinion. And so this year, and also a lot of stuff happened with DeMar Hamlin, and also having to move a game because of a snowstorm, having to play in Detroit, and also losing Von Miller for the season, also losing Micah Hyde for the season, Jordan Poyer in and out of the lineup. Tre'Davious White wasn't himself, and not to mention the most important part, Josh Allen's elbow. He played through it, but also at the same time, it wasn't, it was, you could tell that it was not like the Josh Allen we've seen over the past few years. MVP Josh Allen. I will not predict that the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl or that Josh Allen is going to win MVP. But I'm telling you that this year is going to be a lot better than in years past, just based off the fact that Stefon Diggs is going to be fine and Josh Allen is healthy. And if people are wondering, oh, maybe it was something that happened in a personal situation, we don't know that. And we can't confirm that. We don't know that. So for me personally, I think that if you are a Bills fan, you should be excited that this is a team that's going to battle for the division. Now, has the division gotten tougher? Yes. Tua is probably still going to be healthy, and the Jets, they got Aaron Rodgers and they beat the Bills. So let me tell you that this is not going to be a cakewalk like it was the past, I don't want to say 3 seasons, because it was difficult, especially in 2021. Came down to the last game of the season, and then this past season they had a loss to Miami and they had a loss to the Jets. So it could end up getting to a point where they might end up splitting those two teams again, where they're going to sweep the Patriots. The Patriots, I don't care what people say, the Patriots are the 4th best team in the division. Even if they get DeAndre Hopkins, they're still the 4th best team in the division. You got Aaron Rodgers. I think that he might be, I don't know if washed is the right word, but he might be. Last season was terrible. He played like crap. Very unlike Aaron Rodgers. It was just not good. And then now he gets traded to the Jets, and now the Jets are considered these Super Bowl favorites. They might be, but I don't see it. I don't see them being the favorites for winning Super Bowl 58. Where is it? I don't know where it is, but just roll with me. But this is going to be tough. And you also have Tua. Tua is still a pretty solid quarterback. And you also have him with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They gave the Bills trouble this last season. So even when the Bills were playing in their elements, in the snow and the cold, they still had difficulty. So I do think that it is going to be an interesting division race. And obviously, you're going to be facing the Chiefs again and the Bengals again. If you saw my recent podcast, one of my most recent podcasts, I picked the Bills, and I think I picked them to go 14-3, I believe. I don't remember what. I think I had losses to, I think, Cincinnati and maybe Jacksonville and Philadelphia. But those were the 3 losses, and this is going to be a tough schedule. This is probably this is the toughest schedule in the NFL. So if the Bills win the Super Bowl this year, this will be kind of just something that is very validated, that you won the Super Bowl because you played the best teams. So that's kind of my take on what's been going on. The Bills don't get to training camp till literally a month. So they're going to be starting on July 26th, I believe, at St. John Fisher University. I'm super excited. I'm going to try to go to at least one at St. John Fisher and maybe even the return of the blue and red at the Bill Stadium. I've never gone to it. My colleague, Sal Capaccio, has told me it's a great time. So I will definitely try to get it. And hopefully I can get an autograph from some players. I know that like some people are like, "Oh, you're an adult, you don't really." I have a lot of memorabilia. Like it is kind of crazy how much memorabilia I have. But when I see athletes, I basically turn into a kid. I may be 24, but I can be. There's that kid on the inside of me that's still the big sports fan. All right, now on to the Sabres. Tomorrow is the NHL draft, or whenever you listen to it, June 28th, the start of the NHL draft in Nashville. I don't know. I might have said NFL draft. Apologize. The NHL draft is tomorrow. And the Sabres are not picking number one like they used to be. They're picking 13th, which is really good. Like they were 2 points out of going to the playoffs, but obviously some injuries happened, had some rough times early, especially in November when they were on a 9-game losing streak and couldn't get wins. This is the season for the Sabres. It is playoffs. That's all you had to think about is the playoffs. Now, am I a little concerned about goaltending? Yes. Was I on the Connor Hellebuck train? Yes. But I do not want to block the path of Devin Levi. I'm not going to tell you he is the second coming of Ryan Miller. He looks pretty solid to me from what I've seen in the 8 or 9 games that he's started. He has shown promise. He has shown struggles. Just like he's 21. He's going to be 22 in the season. So I wouldn't worry about it. I think that he can be the starting goaltender. I would not be surprised if he's the starting goaltender. I would not be surprised if they do run with Levi and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Maybe it could be a tandem like they had in Boston, where I'm not going to say that they're going to break the NHL record in points and wins, but I think that this team is going to be good enough. Like I was looking at Stuart Skinner, came in second in Rookie of the Year voting for the from the Edmonton Oilers, and his stat line, I thought, in my opinion, looked really, really solid, especially for a first year. Well, like for his first full season, he played 48 games. Here it is. Would you take this stat? You play 48 starts, appear in, I believe, 50 games, have 29 wins, and have a 9.94 save percentage. I guarantee you everybody would take that in a heartbeat, because I think that's starting to show promise. And now, do I think that that's like Calder Trophy Rookie of the Year numbers? Probably not. Could he be in the top 3? Maybe. But again, boiling back to the draft, Connor Bedard, he is considered the best prospect since Connor McDavid in 2015. And Connor McDavid just won the Hart Trophy for MVP. He won 4 awards. It's a lot. I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but he won MVP. That's the most important one. This guy could win MVP McDavid like. Now, we're putting so much pressure on a guy that hasn't even started in the NHL yet. But I am intrigued to see how his season goes. I think he can be a really, really a star player in the NHL. And I wasn't too happy that he was going to Chicago, because Chicago, they just had Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews, and they were winning all these Stanley Cups. And the one year that they played like crap, they get the number 1 pick. But also at the same time, he's in an American market. It's in a big city, Chicago. And also, he's not on the West Coast where Connor McDavid, anytime he wants to be on national television, the game doesn't start till like 10 o'clock. And a lot of people on the East Coast are like going to go to sleep. So that's my feeling on it. So they're going to be picking at 13, the Sabres are. And I will tell you that this is not someone that's going to come in here, first round pick, and is going to be on the Sabres lineup come October. That's when the season starts. And we'll get into this. The schedule just came out today. What I liked, and I heard this from general manager Kevin Adams, is that what he is looking for is he's like, it's like with the Bills. It's win now, but also win in the future. And I think that that's what really is going to happen. They're going to win now and they're going to win in the future. And that's what I really see. Sustained success, it was like the word that they were using. Sustained success of having the great, all the, like, these great prospects in your pool, but also, using them. Like, you got Paterka, Krebs, Quinn, Cousins. Like, I'm telling you that this prospect pool is great, and I'm curious to see what they're going to pick. Here's what I will say is that I would love for the Sabres to get Quentin Musty. Do I think if he can fall to 13, yes, he's a forward, and the Sabres need defensive help. But the way that they're going to get help on defense is probably through free agency. Free agency opens up on July 1st, which is where you can make some defenseman signings, offer sheets, stuff like that. We're getting to a point now where the Sabres are not a laughing stock, where players actually want to come here because you're seeing how much fun they are. And the fans, like, I still believe that Sabre fans are just on such a different level. Like our nickname for a while used to be Hockey Heaven. And let me tell you, it was amazing. It was awesome to see. I would love to see him mainly because he is a Hamburg native. He is from Western New York. He plays in the OHL. And he would most likely will become the first Western New Yorker to be drafted in the first round since, drumroll, Patrick Kane, who went number 1 overall, has won MVPs, won Stanley Cups, scored the game-winning goal in their first appearance in the Cup Final in, I believe, 2010. So I'm not going to say he's going to be Patrick Kane because that is way too high expectations to put on an 18-year-old. And that's another thing that I think about with the Sabres is that they're just a bunch of, like, they're still kids. They're still, keep them in juniors in like the WHL or the OHL, or put them in Rochester where they're going to be facing tough competition, but it's not going to be NHL competition. Let them develop and then eventually bring them into the NHL. Maybe like have them play a couple games or see how they do, and then bring them back down to Rochester, and then work your way through that. So again, I think that the Sabres are not drafting for now. They might draft the best player available, which I would not be shocked if they do. And that might be another forward. And I know our forward prospect pool is deep, but they might even trade it. Who knows? I would not be surprised if the Sabres end up trading the pick for maybe a prospect, or maybe a goaltender, maybe Connor Hellebuck, for gosh sakes. I don't know. I don't know if they will go after Connor Hellebuck. He's the goaltender for the Winnipeg Jets. The only problem, if you want Hellebuck, is that you're going to have to pay him, and he wants $9 million a year. And I just don't know if the Sabres want to pay him, and especially because they have Devin Levi and they don't want to like halt him, if that makes sense. So that's what my opinion is on the draft. I don't know much about the draft. It's definitely, there's so many prospects in Europe, in the OHL, in college, and in, in Russia. That's going to be a big story, is how many players are going to be able to come out of the KHL and be able to play in the NHL. So the schedule came out. Their first game will be against the New York Rangers on, I believe, October 12th. I'm gonna fact check that real quick, but I'm excited. It's not like, you know, when they brought in when what October 12th. Yes, October 12th is when they're going to be playing. I just fact checked that. This is the NHL schedule is not like the NFL schedule where it's like, oh, would you hear these rumors? Oh, this team's going to be playing on national TV at this time. It's not going to happen. But it's still cool to look at the schedule, see like, oh, when are we playing Vegas? When are we playing Toronto? The one thing I always look for is, are they playing on my birthday? My birthday is November 9th. And of course, they are not. They are playing, of course, the day after my birthday, which I'll probably still go to that game. It's a Friday night. They're going to be playing the Minnesota Wild, so I wouldn't expect those tickets to be super expensive. So I mean, obviously they're going to be expensive, but it's not going to be like they're playing the Leafs or they're playing the Bruins or something like that. They're playing a division team. They're going to be playing someone that's in the Western Conference, and I would hopefully want to go to that game. And they have a 2-week period in January where they got a 2-week homestand, which is really exciting. I haven't really been able to digest it that much, so I'm definitely excited about it. So, yeah, the NHL, we're getting closer to hockey season. I know. I think I'm more excited about the Sabres this year than I am about the Bills, because the Sabres, they were like teasing you. They almost got you. We almost got to the playoffs. They want to be in the playoffs. They said we're going to be in the playoffs next year, and they just missed it. Just missed it. If they had won one more game, they would have been in the postseason. And obviously they didn't. With the Bills, obviously you're still excited about it, but maybe the expectations are not as lofty as they were last year, which is okay. Make us the underdog. Think that we're going to be terrible. Make us think that our head coach is the fourth best coach in the division. I love it, because when it comes time, you're going to all be proven wrong with how the Bills are going to be. It's been a few weeks, but I wanted to give my thoughts on the Stanley Cup Final and the NBA Finals. Both ended in 5 games, and that's always unfortunate. I like a series to at least go 6. I like a series to at least go 6, because especially a championship series, because the summer is the time of year where it's baseball that's on, and you're not really too much into baseball as much as maybe like hockey, basketball, and football. Not trying to say that baseball is bad, but baseball doesn't bring in the audience like football, basketball, and hockey does, and especially because we don't have a major league club, which would be awesome if we did. That's another story for another time. But I was super happy to see Jokic win the cup. No, not the cup. The NBA Finals and Finals MVP. I think that he just proved all the doubters that were like, "Oh, he's not going to win MVP because we feel like we need to give it to Embiid," and he just proved that he can win a championship. And if people are going to say, well, they didn't take a really tough road, they faced the Suns, who were considered to be a title favorite, and they beat them in like 5 or 6 games. It didn't look hard. And then they faced the Lakers, who were probably like on a hot streak. They had just beaten Golden State and they beat the number 2 seed Memphis, and they swept them. And then obviously, you know, the finals, I mean, you had the Heat probably should not have been in the finals. They just got hot at the right time, and Jimmy Butler is incredible. And this is my hot take. I don't care what any of you basketball fans say. Jimmy Butler is the best player currently in the NBA right now that has not won a championship. I honestly believe that Jimmy Butler is the best player that has not won a title, and I really hope that he does, because I think he's just so good that he's going to win one eventually. It's like Josh Allen. Eventually, you're so good, you're going to win one. Now, time will tell what will happen. So, for me, the NBA Finals, I'm glad that Denver won it. I'm glad that they got their first title. Now, hopefully, the Bills or the Sabres can get their first title, and so that I could say I could die a happy man. That's what I always say. Whenever they win, I could die a happy man. For the Stanley Cup Final, I was not happy having to see. I mean, I didn't see it because I was in bed. But Jack Eichel lifting the Stanley Cup was a tough pill to swallow. I mean, I think all of us as Sabres fans can agree that it was not fun to see Jack Eichel lifting the Stanley Cup. But this is different from when Ryan O'Reilly won the Stanley Cup. Yeah, Jack Eichel won the Stanley Cup, but you are in such a better feeling about the Sabres than you were when O'Reilly won it in, I believe, 2019. In 2019, the Sabres sucked. Now, the Sabres are like, we're good. We can make the playoffs. Maybe we can even, if we get hot at the right time and get lucky and stay healthy, we could even win the whole damn thing. I would not be surprised if that happened. I mean, if you get a hot goaltender, I mean, you saw Sergei Bobrovsky took him to the Stanley Cup Final. He was hot and Matthew Tkachuk. I felt so bad for him. He, obviously he can poke bears and he is an instigator, but you know what? He played with serious injuries, and I give props to the Florida Panthers. So it was definitely, it was tough. So it was tough to see Eichel lifting the cup. But if you're a Sabres fan, and as obviously I am, you are feeling so much better than you were back when O'Reilly won the Stanley Cup in 2019. The Sabres are back. They're going to be great. And I'm super excited to see what they have in store for us for the next couple days as the NHL Draft begins tomorrow. That's going to do it for this episode of Depot's Den. Be sure, I will make sure to I'll post a little short video on Friday, give my thoughts on the draft and anything that I've noticed that's going on in the world of sports. I forgot the McDermott and Bean extension. I'll do that on Friday. There was just so much that it literally flew over my head, and I will make sure to talk about Sean McDermott and Brandon Bean extended through 2027. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to this episode of Depot's Den. Again, want to give a huge shout out to my friend Natalie Malloy, who has, is pushing me to make sure I get out my podcast more, and I'm super excited about it. And maybe we'll have her on the show. I would love, to talk about, why she does this podcast, what made her want to do it, what made her choose this career path, and I'm super excited about it. So we will see you next time on Depot's Den. I have been Evan DePasquale, and we will see you next time.